The following is a presentation of the Control Trends Podcasting Network.
Hi, welcome to Control Talk Now, your smart buildings video cast and podcast for the week ending June 23rd, 2019. This is Eric Stromquist, and you are listening or watching to episode 321 of Control Talk Now, where we talk about all things smart controls, all things Pittsburgh Steelers football, and whatever else. Your host and mine, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Kenny Smyers wants to talk about. Kenny, welcome to the show. What do you want to talk about this week?
Well, I'm going to a Pirate game tonight, so I'm going to talk about the Pirates real quick. Now, you know what? The Steelers are already out in the field, so the year's going by so fast. I think that we're already through June, and it's next week. We'll be in July, so it's incredible. But our industry is moving at a lightning pace too. And we had a fabulous week gone by. I mean, we were down near Nashville, Tennessee, and saw some of the smartest, eclectic, intelligently gifted system solutions to people.
Hang on, it's eclectic, not eclectic.
That's what I said, eclectic.
Okay, very good, very good. I must have misheard you. I don't have good headphones on.
Well, you taught me how to do that.
I'm actually on vacation, so we're up in the mountains in North Georgia. So
you taught me how to do that. Even if I said it wrong and the other person says it right, you always say that's what I said, and then it makes me look.
Kenny says everything's very we saw some very eclectic people, like Jim and the rest of those eclectic people. But go ahead, Kenny. And then I want to tell you about my daughter's experience here at the lake real quick. But let's talk some more about Nashville.
No, it was a lot of fun. Again, the collaboration that took place, the dissemination of new technology, the innovation that was apparent, and some of the strong, the critical trends, cybersecurity, data analytics, frameworks. But more importantly was the technology is here. It's just the acceptance, the rate of adoption is mysterious to a lot of people because when we looked out on that floor, we're seeing this deep technology ready and able to go in and solve a lot of problems. But there just seems to be some sort of a bridging issue where marrying up, the ability to provide these solutions and actually take them on board at all the different buildings throughout North America and the world. There just doesn't seem to be, there's cacophony between the two parts, but it's going to be worked out because the technology is impressive and it's here and it's scalable and it's affordable. So we got to see that firsthand and it was really exciting.
Right. I think it's getting to be more scalable. And, again, hats off to the team at Tritium, Therese Sullivan, Ed Merwin, and those guys. They're major players there. I was kind of blown away by how many people from Microsoft and Intel were there, specifically Microsoft Azure. Kenny and I shot, I think I've got 40 or 50 gigs of video footage we actually shot. We live streamed as much as we could. So if you're a subscriber on the Control Trends YouTube channel, you got to see some of the live streams. But we'll be posting those videos. But Microsoft just had not only an eclectic, but a prolific group of people that are using Microsoft Azure as their eclectic sort of front. Talk about that, Kenny. How do you see Azure playing into it? And do you see them, some of the people that we deal with, going to Azure? Or do you see going from the controller through Tritium to Azure or something like that?
I think it was very impressive, and we, like you said, we had some great interviews there. And the one that really impressed me the most was the German fellow that came out of the company in Texas. So I'll think in a minute, but also JCI, Johnson Controls, and the relationship they have with Microsoft Azure was amazing because the collaboration, again, we talked about. In other words, the ability to do data in the cloud is a certain expertise that you don't want to try to do yourself internally, no matter how big your company is, And so we're seeing that in this Microsoft product it's scalable too, down to the single person, down to a very small business, all the way up into the $90 billion companies that we saw working with them. So we're at the pavilion. 32 Microsoft Azure partners are there, and every one of them had an incredible story. The equipment manufacturer, the office components, the steel case. It was just amazing because everybody needs to know where everything's at now, and it can be there. The problem is, who's going to manage it, and do you want to throw that into the cloud to somebody that's very capable, very competent,
right,
very secure, like Microsoft, or you want to try to do that on board? So you have a lot of people that believe that they still want to do it locally. They want to have. It was a great comment by John Petsy about the actual hybrid is what we need to start talking about. Hybriding solutions where it's not all or nothing, or all or nothing at all.
The edge or the enterprise, right?
Yeah. So I mean, we got to see
even in between. So
yeah.
The middleware. But I tell you what, our industry has something to be very, very, very proud of, Kenny. And I don't think you've thought about this yet, but I think it bodes well for the type of people in our industries and the way we roll as an industry. So Microsoft is there, Google's there, Facebook's there. Who is afraid to, Intel's there, who is afraid to show up in our industry because he knows they're badasses like Ken Smyers, Jeff Bezos? Amazon is not there. I say it's because he's looking around going, man, I cannot compete with these guys because I just can't drop the price because these guys know what they're doing. So hats off to our industry there. And Kenny, we're going to talk some more about it. We got two great guests this week. We've got our sponsor this week is DG Lux, and we've got a link on the website. Man, they do great stuff. The Men in Black. They've been sponsoring the show here for the last month. If you want to be a sponsor on the show, there's a link. You just reach out to me at hvaccontrolpro@gmail.com or ctmarketing@gmail.com, and we can get you the specs on that. But Kenny, I'm on vacation this week, so I'm in a bit of a silly mode. But I've got my 6-year-old Evelyn Grace, my 4-year-old Axel B. We're up here at the lake, man. They're playing. This is where my parents' lake house where I grew up. They're playing on the same little beach I played. It's bringing back memories, man. It's making me feel young. It's making me feel happy. It's making me feel silly. But one of the greatest events a dad can have is I watched as my daughter Evelyn Grace, my 6-year-old, caught her first fish.
Oh, neat.
And talk about them. And she's down there right now. They're fishing, and she just can't get enough of the fishing. And she's named all the fish, and because we're fishing with Brad off the dock, so you can see all the fish. And she's got old granddad and old grandma and the little baby minnows, and she talked to them. So it's big times, but we're having good times there. But listen, dude, I digress.
You catch them and throw them back? You catch them and throw them back, or
we catch them.
A fish fry?
Axel tries to kiss them, and then we throw them back. But she's only caught one.
I see.
But
all right. Well, there's some folks I know that they love catching the fresh fish, and then they cook them right then and there. But I just want to mention one more thing about Microsoft. We're talking about the mighty companies there, and you mentioned AWS or Amazon, and we saw some companies that we're going to be talking about later on near future where they have the biggest. They have AWS, they have Microsoft, and they have Google. And they're in the cloud, and in certain companies have the ability to work with all three of those major cloud players. But I really got a sensational kick out of the Microsoft Azure platform and EasyIO were two products nominated for the same category for new technology. And I thought, boy, that's Samson and Goliath there, because it was amazing how.
Congratulations to EasyIO for being in that category. Gina Elliott, Mike Marson,
right? So that's it's a fabulous just to be in that same kind of grouping. But it was about technology, not necessarily volume or who has the biggest sales. It was about innovation in the particular markets they're in and the impact it made in the real-com world. So,
but it's interesting because my question for you is, and I guess my question for most of our community is, when you got a David and Goliath situation, who do you usually root for?
I thought you were going to correct me because I said Samson and Goliath, and you didn't. You let me go on that. What's up with that?
I already know. I'm trying to be too eclectical. Eclectical. I'm not going to be eclectical about it. But I tell you what, that's going to go into Wikipedia after this episode, I'm sure. But I think most people pull for the underdog. I know I do. I mean, everybody was, I think, with the exception, statistic I saw, Kenny, with the exception of Nevada and California, everybody else was pulling for Toronto to win the game.
Yeah, for sure. I think the David and Goliath thing is for real. That people love underdogs, and they love to see spirit and innovation, and fight and ingenuity. And again, the show was just an amazing display of what's available, and whether it's data analytics or whether it's the things that intelligent buildings were doing. The post we have, we'll be talking about that real quick. But monitoring stuff 24/7, using machine to machine. I mean, so that you take the human element out of it, you relieve people of serious burdens, and it's all being done through some incredible program, and it's just ingenious.
No, I think it's ingenious. And speaking of that, Kenny, what a great segue. We didn't even rehearse this, but I think our first guest is teed up, and when you talk about monitoring and stuff like that, new technology, let's bring him on. Actually, it's not new technology; it's new technology to us. So, how about introducing our first guest?
Love to. We have Michael Hadd, the Midwest account manager for RLE Technologies. Welcome to the show, Mike. How are you?
Welcome, Mike.
Hey, yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate the opportunity. Definitely excited to get introduced inside of the community and be working with you as well.
Yeah, well, you're no stranger to the community. You spent quite a few years in the industry. So tell us a little bit about your background in building automation controls, and then we want to find out what RLE Technology is doing and how they fit into the puzzle.
Absolutely. Thank you. So yeah, I've been in the business, in the industry a little over 10 years actually. Started with a smaller proprietary controls group, and then I guess you can say graduated into building automation distribution for the last 8 years or so. So really got exposed into a lot of the different technology and how it works and integrates, and really how it's got to be implemented as well, and some of the challenges that go with that as well.
Right. Well, sort of with that background, speak a bit from that perspective, because most of our community is involved in smart building controls in similar types capacity. But speak about RLE Technology, sort of from the perspective of a guy who's been in the industry for a while, and what you guys do.
Sure thing. Yeah. So RLE Technologies, it's actually our 35-year anniversary this year. So
Nice.
we're not new to the business. We've developed a lot of cool technology and implemented it all around the world. We have headquarters currently in Fort Collins, Colorado. And, the core of the business is really around environment monitoring, leak detection, as well as raised floors. So, the goal of what we're trying to accomplish is really to prevent disasters, preserve and protect your assets, while also providing peace of mind.
Well, that's pretty awesome. I do remember RLE Technologies on a gas detection job a while back, and yeah, so you guys have been around. I think though that you're coming to the forefront. I think your initiative and your efforts are to get RLE into more focused areas of the building automation, so that you guys, you probably made things for other people, they relabeled and you put them out into the industry, unbeknownst to people. But so what's going on right now? Why is RLE making a move now? Why is this timing so critical now that you're making your move?
No, I appreciate you asking. We've been in the business for a long time. We've had a lot of DNA really developed and maintained, and we're really well known inside of the data center industry and some of those other critical spaces. But over the last year and a half or so, we've started to develop some other new products, as well as make the old ones better, right? So, integrating these data points into a larger enterprise scheme is really where the future of the business is going, right? There's so many ways to do it. There's so many ways to connect the data, really to solve the problem. And that's what's fascinating to me, is just the convergence of how all this technology comes together to drive an outcome to solve a problem. So where we're going now and really pushing inside of the automation space is really making sure that folks know we have some pretty cool products that are simple to install, are very reliable transmissions, have great battery lives, and really solve some of the niche problems inside of those buildings that, maybe you're kind of overlooking.
Well, not only that, you got a cool name for those integration products. We got a bunch of different products, so we'll start with that. But the one that sort of I tuned into immediately was the Raptor integration products, and including the RLE Wing and some of those other products. Speak about that portfolio of products. I think our community is going to really be excited about that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you asking. It's a pretty fierce group of birds that we're working with there. So the FMS and the Wing are really, I think, the two platforms I think the automation community can appreciate the most. On the FMS side, it's really geared around environment monitoring. If I can take a quick plug here, I'd hate to do it, but this is an F200 little device. It's got 8 digital inputs. It's got it's got a relay output, a user interface, so it's networkable. Could be standalone or integrated Modbus. It's a robust little device. It has a lot it can do with temperature monitoring as well, one-wire monitoring. The other FMS product that we've really designed to help implementation and create some of those efficiencies was with our Wing Wireless. This is one of the Temp Sensors. Simple as that. Pop the battery in, it auto discovers into the gateway. Give it a name, send it up on the network, and you're basically done. I mean, I hate to make anything sound so simple, but that's really the way it works. Decided to bring it to the marketplace and give those integrators something easy to integrate, not make it more difficult than they already got to deal with.
Yeah, 12-year battery life on that, right, Mike?
Yeah, yep. So there's a 10 to 12-year battery life on the sensors and transmitters. They transmit every 10 to 20 seconds back to the gateway. out of the Wing Manager. It's IP based, so it'll talk back that Modbus and SNMP. The Raptor line you mentioned earlier, we've created a kind of a scaled down version to integrate back that MSTP and Modbus RTU out of that guy. So just adding data to the infrastructure, ultimately giving some of these controls vendors more data to either do analytics, do cool, crazy graphics, or even just make the building operate better. And, some of those areas you're trying to pull data or get data, I should say, was really the goal and the intent of what we're building and delivering to the market.
Well, my God, it's great opportunities out there. I mean, there's a lot of challenges too. As we spoke offline there a minute ago, some of the big challenges, the technology is here, and you just mentioned several versions of great technology, simplified a lot of things for building management integration. We have to get you to the website later on here, but we have a problem with shortage of people that know how to do things and do them well, and they need all the help they can get. So if I understood you correctly, you're probably talking about one of the most simplified installations, startup, more or less commissioning and getting off the job. Let's go over that a little bit slower. So a typical contractor, first involvement might be how, and what could they expect with that user interface? Sure.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you bringing that up, because that's definitely one of the biggest challenges that I think I've seen, as well as the community as well, is the software licensing, the technical know-how to even operate and turn on the software is always a challenge. So one of the things we've been able to accomplish, and really hats off to Don Raymond and the engineering team, was to streamline and simplify that process. So this guy does have a user interface built into it, and it's very intuitive, simple to set up. I mean, which is what we were getting at a moment ago with the skilled labor that's out there. We've now created an opportunity for a larger percentage of the workforce to actually be able to go and take this and deliver this out to the marketplace.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So do you guys have have you done case studies and all to just see how much percentage wise, how much time it reduces installation costs? Or if you don't, do you sort of have a best case guesstimate?
Obviously, based on every scenario is different, right? With the F200, it's couldn't really give you a percentage, but I can tell you from a guy like me setting it up and being able to get 90% of it done without much assistance, I'll tell you that's a pretty big swing. And then especially on the wireless side, being able to pop a tab out of here, pop a battery in, give it a name and put it on a network, obviously reducing all your wiring costs and all of that could be pretty significant, obviously, based on the job and what you're really trying to accomplish.
Well, I'm impressed. I had a chance to go over your website and see some of the products, and I've seen your products before, but I don't think you guys took it to the forefront now. So now you're emerging as a building automation company that you can provide solutions. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because it's a great announcement, kind of a stepping out announcement. But the reality is, and we've just come recently from the RealCom IBCon 2019, and we've heard again that there's 5 million buildings out there. The market is immense. 80% of the buildings don't have anything more than a thermostat, and some of them don't even have night setback or 24, or scheduling, the thermostat. So it's terrible. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to induce our community and other communities to get involved, learn whatever you need to get to, so that we can deal with this. We have the technology. So what are some of the other challenges? So we talked about the labor skill force, and what else do you think could be the headwinds that prevent this technology from just taking off?
Sure. So, traditionally, I think there's a lot of open systems out there, right? And open systems really are open protocols being able to talk together, but you still need a proprietary software to operate it. Where RLE kind of took the stance was to create an open framework device that can be standalone or integrated. So being able to deploy your technical staff to go and solve the problems, or even, I like to think of it a lot of times as another step forward to help a customer solve a problem. It doesn't always have to be the big grandiose, proposal. If all they're trying to do is monitor a couple dozen points inside of a building, we got a couple different ways to do it that are affordable and easy to deploy. So even since they are integratable, pushing it up to an analytic and then letting energy analyst, kind of use the data to kind of recommission how a system's operating is a very doable option as well. So it doesn't always have to be stay in place. It could be mobile and move around to help kind of create some of that visibility in some of the different spaces you don't normally see.
Nice. Well, the thing I think too is that you talked scalability there. So we're talking about a real basic monitoring a couple points, getting into the analytic mode where it can do some benefit and make some strategies from it. But you also actually serve, your markets include data centers, airport. I mean, you guys go from a very small
Yeah.
application to a very large. Tell us about some of that scalability.
Yeah, so that's kind of the fun part about being here with RLE is, the core business was historically always in data centers. You had to have a reliable product that gave you visibility and worked. There's you can't have any delay in any kind of an alarm if the cabinet gets too hot or their water's entered into a space. Even with our Triad raised floor line, how much money is spent producing cold air for that space? The last thing it hits is the raised floor tiles that are pushing air up. We have a fin on the bottom of our Triad brand, slotted in chamfer panels that even push air more efficiently to the data center cabinets as well. So kind of a holistic view of all the different parts and pieces and how everything comes together to really drive the outcome.
No, it's very, very cool. And, one of the things on your website, you talk about facility monitoring, the critical facility monitoring solutions. And I don't think a lot about leak detection, but when you're talking about leaks, I mean, especially with data centers, water is a killer. What are some other things you guys are able to monitor for leak detection?
Yeah, so sorry, I mentioned the data centers, but the big push that we're also inside of is a lot of healthcare, critical spaces. I actually just did a job where they were retrofitting a basement where they were putting a $4 million machine, and ironically there were drain pipes right above the machine. So why not throw a couple of grand worth of leak detection in place to protect that $4 million investment that's there? And obviously some of the other temps and building pressures inside of those spaces would be an easy deployment as well. We're inside of schools and universities though too. A lot of those, as Ken, you mentioned, are older buildings, and trying to get data to and in and out of those buildings and even some of those older systems is pretty challenging. The airports you mentioned as well, they're big spaces. There's a lot of different opportunity inside of those, especially when you start thinking about the food vending and health and safety factors, as well as the leak detection in water as well. Some of the cool jobs I've also seen us put some stuff into is stadiums and museums. We just got an order in for one of the largest museums in the country, which I probably learn a little bit more about here as we get some case studies written as well about that stuff. But some of the other storage facilities, even refrigerated storage. So the spectrum of what we can cover is really pretty nice and robust in that sense that we can do it reliably.
Right. And it looks like you guys also offer startup and commissioning. Speak about that, if you would.
Yeah, so that's a service that, again, knowing the shortage of manpower that's out there and some of the, critical nature of those facilities, we wanted to make sure that we were offering some services out to the marketplace to do some startup and commissioning, even come out and do some training for the technicians that would be on site doing the implementations. We do provide a certification class as well. That's in Fort Collins currently, but we're going to start traveling out to some of the sites as well. Maybe you'll see us at Stromquist one day.
Yeah.
We're delivering some of those man hours needed in that marketplace where we know there's a shortage.
Well, Mike, again, just for the benefit of the Control Trends community, I didn't realize how large you guys were. You're actually a global company. But you're headquartered in Colorado. Tell us a little bit about the extensive delivery that you have. Where are you busy? Where's your
busy everywhere, which is a good thing. So yeah, headquartered again in Colorado. All of our distribution stems from Fort Collins. The other nice thing, though, I do want to make sure to mention is the majority of our products are made here in the United States. So we control the manufacturing, we control the quality of everything. Actually, since I brought that up, there's pretty proud of a stat that was a DPPM, defective parts per million. We just had last year was only 12. So it was impressive, the quality of the products that are built. But from a distribution arm, yeah, I mean, we're in the UK, we're in Australia, we're in Singapore. We got guys all over the world selling our equipment and delivering it to their marketplace.
Very cool. I think if I had to sum you guys up, just based on what I'm knowing, we're just meeting you for the first time, Mike, which is awesome. So thank you for coming on the show. And Mike, found us, if you're interested in being a guest on Control Talk now, there's a little box up there on the website, controltrends.com, fill it out. And that's how Mike found us. So, but Mike, if I had to describe you guys, I would say you play well with others, because it kind of doesn't matter whose system you want to integrate to. As long as they do Modbus, BACnet, or one of the other open protocols, you guys can rock and roll. And if I'm understanding correctly, even with your transmitters for your sensors, they'll play well with other sensors as well, right? So you don't have to use your sensors. You probably should, but if you got a particular brand that you like to use, true statement, you guys can integrate with other people's sensors as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you saying that. One of my favorite devices we sell is the brother to this guy. This is the Wing DI, but the brother to it is the Wing Analog. So being sensor agnostic, we can literally connect any sensor output, 0 to 5 volt, 0 to 10 volt, 0 to 20 milliamps as the output to this guy to transmit wireless back to the gateway. So being sensor agnostic, obviously that's a big deal, because I don't care whose sensor it is. I just want the output to make the deliverable more effective.
Right.
And then with with the other line of the temp humidity sensors, we have a differential airflow. We actually have wireless leak detection. There's a thermistor. We're actually coming out here with an air velocity sensor as well. So the bench of being able to deliver the data to the community or the enterprise BMS is certainly available out there and done reliably with 900 megahertz today.
Very, very cool. What is the biggest misconception or mistakes that owners or customers make regarding wireless that you experience?
I just think there's so much of it out there, and not that any of it's bad. I'm not saying anything negative about any of them, but when you start putting them in dense environments, Bluetooth and Ocean, Zigbee, and some of the lower versions of 418 megahertz, things like that, they just don't penetrate well and have the range that's needed. And then there's typically always some kind of a gateway to aggregate all that and then pass it out. So some of the challenge a lot of times is just placement of where you're going to put it, and not taking the time to really look at the space and what's all around the space. Whereas the deployment on the Wing Manager, it's got all of the radio frequencies and noise available right there. So as you're deploying them, you can see, do I need to move it 3 feet to the right, or move it up or down, or maybe I need to add another range extender. And those are extremely powerful. So we've gone a couple floors up, a couple floors down with just a single range extender, and covering, up to an additional 1,000 feet. So, I think for us, it's the range of the radio frequency. But, as I talk about that, I guess I'll jump to it. One of the things that we're also coming out with here and finalizing some development and beta testing on is the Wi-Fi sensor line that we're going to end up incorporating into the Wing Manager as well. So it'll be.
You took my that was my next question, because I knew that RLE had some future developlements.
Yeah.
So then Wi-Fi. We talk about the different wireless deployments and the benefits, and we recently wrote something about InOcean here coming up, and how it doesn't seem like any particular wireless other than Wi-Fi is bubbling up to be the choice. Zigbee had its run for a while, and a couple of leading manufacturers featured Zigbee products. And once the Niagara framework put the antennas on there, and we saw just a surge in wireless products, because now all of a sudden, and I thought it was genius, whoever came up with the ability to take an InOcean point or a wireless point and make them into BACnet points. But what's going on with wireless? So you guys are promoting Wi-Fi. Do you think Wi-Fi with the 802 G and the way it's developed and the way it's maintained and fixed all the time to be the number one wireless?
It's hard to say, because there's a lot of environments that don't have good wireless out there, or don't have a good infrastructure currently. So the 900 megahertz for us really does penetrate walls well, and has great range. I've been in and out of, like I said, a number of buildings, and the other challenge is not just the battery life, but obviously the range, and it's the transmission rates. If you're taking a data capture every 15 minutes and then passing that point, and then what if you miss one? Well, now you're 30 minutes out before you get the next one, hopefully, right? These guys are talking every 10 to 20 seconds back to the gateway. So, the reliability of the data as well as the transmission is something I think we're real good at, and love to show it to you. Love to plug it in and show it to you one day.
Well, we'll have to keep doing this. And make sure you submit those products. We have a couple of award shows coming up here, but one in particular, the Control Trends Awards, where we're looking for new innovation, and wireless is a huge category, because you're right. I know this RLE technology has been somebody else's box, because I remember now everything you're saying about 900 megahertz. Did you guys private label for people over the years? Because I've seen your products, and I just can't remember where, but I know that they're very good. I remember now.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we've OEM'd the product to a few folks, and again, deliver it globally. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw it somewhere. I don't know exactly where everything's at.
I'm not asking for secrets.
But
yeah, private. No, this is great stuff, and we'd love to have you on. I'm wondering, for our Control Trends community, if you wanted to reach out in comments and let us know. I'm kind of wondering if we could do like a webinar with you, where people could, we could just we do that with some people, and if our Control Trends community is interested, we'd love to set that up. Maybe have you come into Atlanta, and we could set up a live stream training and people could participate. So if that's of interest to you, please let us know in comments, both on the YouTube channel and at ControlTrends.com. But let's talk about how you guys go to market. You have a P3 program. Speak about that, and speak about how people would, engage and work with you guys.
Sure. So we have, as mentioned before, we have a very robust network of partners and end user customers all around the world. The P3 program is really designed to work with some of our, distribution partners that are really pushing the product, right? That really want to focus on solving a problem and delivering good technology to their partners as well. So the P3 partnership is really, again, designed to preserve, protect, and provide peace of mind to the marketplace as a whole, the 3 Ps, right? And then, as far as engaging with us, we have a nice, robust network of partners that's all available online to look at as well, a lot of the P3 partners. But if you do have any questions or just want to engage in who might be in your local area to contact us, feel free to send an email anytime to sales@rletech.com, sales@rletech.com. We'd be happy to point you in the right direction. If you'd like, even in the subject, just put Control Trends so we know you came from here, and be able to make sure we take care of you in all the right ways.
That'd be great. And, like Kenny and I are fond of saying that if you don't know who to buy from, as long as the product works, Kenny and I will sell anything. Yeah. So that's dmscontrols.com and stromquist.com. So, hey, don't be a stranger, man.
There you go.
So, well, Mike, anything else you want to touch on? This has been fascinating. Anything else before we hop off here?
Just excited to kind of get introduced into this particular marketplace. Like I said, we've been around for a long time and really focused on a couple of the vertical markets. But, here we are having an opportunity to jump into, something like this with you guys and really grow our recognition throughout the marketplace as well. So, sincerely appreciate that opportunity, and definitely look forward to plugging into some of this stuff with you guys sometime, and showing you how it all works, and staying engaged and keeping the balls moving forward.
Well, listen, we'd love that. And again, reach out in comments and let us know, because I think we could definitely set up a live stream webinar, and that might be the best way to hit the most amount of people, because we do that and people from all over the globe tune into those, and then we're able to record them and archive them. So please let us know in comments. Michael, can't tell you how much we appreciate you taking the time. Welcome. I wish Kenny had a casserole to give you.
I'll expect that when I make it out to Atlanta.
Yeah, and listen, Atlanta for sure. And then Orlando, like Kenny says, the Control Trends Awards are going to happen with AHR. And I think you guys will probably definitely have some products on the ballot when we go through the nomination process, which will be coming up here soon. For our community out there, please remember Michael Hatt. And if you look behind him, he's got hats there. And he shows the picture of Rene Russo earlier, but that's not suitable for our PG audience here. So, Michael, thanks so much, buddy.
Hey, no, thank you guys. Have a great day.
All right, man, Kenny. Wow, what did you think of the stuff Mike had?
Well, you know, I've known of them before, but I didn't realize how incredibly wide their portfolio was and how big they are. They're a global company. They've been around, several times, 35 years anniversary. Congratulations. But I was very impressed with the technology. I'm very impressed with anybody that's trying to put the issues that we have in front of us and then solve them. And one of the big things is making things a little bit easier for ordinary service folks to get out there and put something in that they know how to work and can make it work, and give the end users and the building owners and the facility managers, which we're working with very closely, more options to get things done quicker. So for us, it's another opportunity to sell a solution. And for the end user, it's another scalable, affordable solution set. So, well done. And I think we'll see more of them.
Well done. Well, listen, we had some really good posts on the site this week, but Kenny, let's just pick one out and talk about it. I think we should probably talk about our friend Tom Shurtleff. What do you think?
Well, that's incredible too. But I thought that just again, Contemporary Controls has the news. Please go to the website and see it. It's really good stuff about ISO certifications. Belimo has an upcoming advanced technology webinar. Register. There's a link on the site. But there was two really good ones there. And then Iodium also has a webinar coming up. It's on the website. Please use the link and register. But the two cool things were the running robots. Robots running smart buildings. That Rycon post, I thought that was really incredible. And then of course, and then the live footage of the Smart Building Integrator Summit. I mean, we saw some, when I talked about the people, the eclectic people that really understand what's going on. I've never seen such a major, kind of like sharing. I mean, this used to be secrets. People never would ever share stuff.
Of an amazing potpourri of people.
Staying away from anything that begins with poop. I'm staying away from it.
My son Axel would not like you at all, but go ahead.
Anyhow, the stage and just one set came on, one set came off of very intelligent people. The breakout sessions were enormous. From that 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock afternoon it was worth a trip by itself. The attendance at Realcomm, every session was filled with very interested and people that had a stake in it. So the stakeholders were there. They were getting this information. The exchange afterwards, a question and answer, was very, very good. On the stage, we saw, the one with the Microsoft guy, the PhD guy, John Petsy, Mark P. talk, and the exchange going on right there from the different, perspectives of people about the same subject was so interesting because it brought in, everybody had a great idea about the same thing. So it's just different language telling the same story. It was crazy.
No. I beg to differ. There was a lot of that going on, but to me, it was like a heavyweight fight. Okay. And fighting over the frame of how we should look at data analytics and so on and so forth. So you had different people, and I'm bringing this up for a point because I want to say how proud I was of John Petsy, because this Microsoft guy who's brilliant, fascinating guy to listen to, is trying to control the frame in a way that makes Microsoft look like the best solution. And our boy John Petsy, man, he took him down a couple of pegs. I don't even know he realized it, but John Petsy stood up for the common people, the Davids, against the Goliath. So John Petsy is our David, and but it was fascinating stuff. And to Kenny's point, I mean, you need to be at these conferences if you can. And we've got a bunch of videos we're going to be posting. The ones Kenny's referring to were actually live streams that we just actually put up on the website. But to your point, Kenny, it's like it's like a jostling before a rugby match, right? I mean, the ball's down there, everybody's doing the scrum, and everybody's pushing and trying to get position. And whoever controls the story, controls the narrative, is going to get the lion's share of the business. So it's very, very important for all the people in our industry as these intruders come in from outside our industry and try to change the narrative and change the story to their advantage. It's very important that we stick to our story. We need to upgrade, but we need to stay relevant in this whole sort of transition of the business.
Well, I think you're right. Well, I think the point about John Petsy, he did very intelligent man, and it was a very high level conversation. I agreed that there was some framing there, but I think what it was the understanding of what edge and the middleware and the cloud, and how every building has its own needs, and you must maintain scalability. But some of the idea that automatically going to the cloud just as a default, as you know, everything's going to go to the cloud. You know, John Petsy made it very clear through examples why that doesn't make sense all the time.
Right. He did not take the oversimplification, the self-serving statement about we're just going to take you to the Azure cloud as fact. He stood up to Goliath. So when you see John Petsy, be sure to pat him on the back and thank him, because he was our champion in this dog-eat-dog battle that's taking place now. I mean, we're looking at this, Kenny. We've been talking about it. I mean, it is changing. And, you know, it's like the Trojan horse, right? It's like you got to be careful with this. And I'm not saying that they're bad people. It's business is business. But, you know what? We have to tell our story or we're going to get run over, in my humble opinion.
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, that's I think it began with the Master Systems Integrator initiative that began 4 or 5 years ago, and now it's already developed into some, you know, that they want to get rid of Master Systems. The whole thing about Master Systems Integrator has been overused and overtaxed, almost like IoT did and everything else, because everybody's saying me too, and I am also a Master Systems Integrator. Well, another very important thing happened at the SBIS, because the other guy up there was Jason Hauk, and he was saying how the criteria that there's a new way to establish whether or not you're a Master Systems Integrator, and that's your certifications, and that's your ability to answer certain questions. Have you ever done this before and done that? Which was also a very interesting aspect, that the Division 25 now is coming out, that the end users, the building owners and managers and these national portfolios, and Microsoft was one of them, is they're not going to be fooled again. You had that nice post up there that said, we won't be fooled again, a reference to the WHO. And yet the Microsoft individual gave us an example how recently they got stung again by somebody out there providing a single source proprietary system in a Microsoft campus, and they were furious about it. But the way the paperwork went and the way you check boxes off, the BACNet's an open protocol, but it's not necessarily an open system or belongs to an open system, and how the tools can be proprietary. That was pretty clever, how they're now coming to a ability to register the 10 commandments of building automation and integration. You cannot do this, you cannot do this, you must do this, you cannot do that. And so we're going to see that ultimately become part of a specification.
Well, we could for sure. But listen, let's talk about some happier subjects. Let's talk about our friend Tom Shurtleff and Intelligent Buildings and what they're up to, because that was another interview we got to do. And Tom and Intelligent Buildings, you talk about a group of really clever people that are really creating value in the marketplace. Talk about
absolutely. Well, like you said, Tom's a very eloquent guy. He's smart. He really understands the business well, and he understands the business of buildings. And see, that's where this show for him, they're taking their solutions and they're providing it for the team that owns the building, whether it's an office facility manager, a building owner, an end user. And they're talking about the big jobs, the national footprints, the enterprise level stuff. And he broke down cybersecurity in this interview so well, because, I mean, we have a post where we go into their site and an introduction to cybersecurity and building systems. That's also a video on the post. But Tom just really, truly, he has a passion to explain things well, because he really means what he says and knows what he says. And that is that once upon a time, it was critical that people woke up and did a cybersecurity assessment. Where's our organization? 2, they worked with a legitimate company that could provide solutions and give them checklists and give them, you know, basic operating instructions, and how get everybody committed, because it's a whole organizational effort. It's not just the manufacturer, it's not just this person, that person. Everybody needs to participate in the cybersecurity program. But then the third part, which was the missing part, was the monitoring, and how Intelligent Buildings has the ability now to monitor both at the enterprise level, the network level, but also at the controller level. And that was really extraordinary.
No, it really is some exciting stuff those guys are coming out with, and we'll be keeping track on. But be sure to watch that interview; it'll give you a flavor for it. And they got some great stuff that they're coming out with. But hey, you know, Kenny, our next guest is teed up and ready to go, so I've got a little bit of a rant to go on here. Starts for most of us with the thermostat. We get our hands on the first thermostat. Next thing you know, it's communicating. Next thing you know, we're into a light commercial system. Then we're full board hooked into data analytics, man. Once you get sucked into this industry, man, it is hard to get out. It's hard to walk away. But our next guest, Kenny, is somebody who is able, through sheer willpower, to walk away from the allure of data analytics and smart buildings and HVAC controls. How about introducing this guy who's gone beyond the 12-step controls program.
Well, I'd love to, Eric, but you have me lost there for a second. But I'm talking about Tim Vogel. Tim Vogel is a big friend of Control Trends. He has been with us in the KMC world. He was one of the early guys that adopted social media very effectively and led KMC's campaign for many years and was very successful. Tim has transitioned. He's gone from the marketing to the sales side. So, Tim, welcome to the show, and it's good to see you again. And tell us about your new environs.
Yeah, welcome, Tim.
How you doing, guys? Thank you so much for having me. It's fantastic to be with you again. I've missed you.
Good.
Well, it's great. You're smiling. You don't look like Keith Richards anymore, man. You know, and again, I'm kind of using the analogy because once people get in our industry, they don't get out.
Yeah.
And you've gone to a parallel industry. You got out of the commercial side and you're more on the industrial side. So like Kenny says, tell us who you're with now and what new things are you playing with?
Absolutely. So there's quite a few differences, but there's also a lot of similarities. So my new company that I'm with is called Flowrox, Flowrox, and we are in the industrial pump and valve and filtration side of the business. So we work a lot with mining, we work a lot with pulp and paper, a lot of wastewater, and we've been in business for about 40 years now. We're a Finnish company. So, you know, we have a lot of kind of very global diversity on our team, a lot of very smart people, a lot of masters, a lot of PhDs, and that's carried over into the U.S. team as well.
Well, hang on. For first question, I got to ask because you know I've heard part of doing an interview with a Finnish company is you have to be hard as nails, and what they basically do is they make you go into the saunas with them. If you can survive the saunas, then you get to go back for a second interview. Any truth to that rumor?
So I got hired in. And when I got hired in, then I went through the interview process, which was a trip to Finland where you spend some time in a 240-degree sauna, and then you go jump into a frozen lake, do some naked snow angels, jump back in, and then go in for singing and some fantastic dinner. So they said if I lived, I would continue to be a part of the team, and if I died, then they'd have to look for someone else.
And our condolences to the people that they offered the job to before Tim.
Or else, if you didn't pass it, you could have gone into the Navy SEALs first. If you passed that test, yeah.
It was painful, but it was also very relaxing after the fact.
Well, you know, the some of the obvious things that we could talk about are the similarities that you had in your previous position and some of the expertise that you had there and how it applies now to the same, you know, core level with people. You know, it's all about telling the story. It's all about the stratification of interest. People, some are engineering centric, some are operations. And so you have to pay dues to each one of those C-level players or operational level players. So tell us a little bit about the similarities first.
So similarities, I mean, from a perspective of technology. So when I was at KMC Controls, we had KMC Commander, which is an awesome smart building IoT platform that can go in. You know, it's easy, smart, secure, all those things. But then when you go, and then over here at Flowrox, I represent our IoT platform, which is called Malibu, and then the whole Flowrox Smart Solutions suite of products. When you go in and you talk about technology, whether it's in the building sector or the industrial sector, you got to know your audience, like you said. So if you go in, you're talking to engineers, you're going to be talking high level, you're going to be talking technical, how does it go in, what are the parts and pieces? When you go into an end user and you're talking to, let's say a manager or, like you said, C-level or VP level, you know, they're thinking strategy. So how does the IoT strategy that we want to implement, that's where digital transformation comes in, you know, where does that play in with the solutions that we can provide? So, and that's when we're talking about KPI dashboards and analytics to help them make their decisions. That's when we could talk about kind of future technology like blockchain or artificial intelligence. That's where that would come in. And then you have the guys that are on the front lines working the individual pieces of equipment, or on the building side, you know, they're running the controls, they're maintaining the boiler or the fans, whatever it is. And, you know, you want to talk to them about the benefits there. Here's how I can give you better alarming. Here's how I could better help you triage what your issues are, where the maintenance issues are, as opposed to just going around and doing maintenance because it's been 6 months. Maybe you don't have to do maintenance for 8 to 9 months, but this one needs to be done right now. How can we help you do that so that your life is easier? You're not running around putting out fires all the time. And, you know, so talking to your audiences differently and then using the technology in a way that makes sense. for them. So, that's a marketing thing, that's a sales thing, and that's one of the things I've been able to carry over between industries.
Well, but listen, you're with just like the baddest ass valve company on the planet. I mean, the valves you handle. I mean, so how does that apply? I mean, are people you guys you have smart valves? Are you able to get that analytics up to people, and how are they using it?
Absolutely. So we have very high quality valves. I would say the highest quality in the industry. Same thing with our pumps. And then we have, excellent parts and service when it comes to industrial filtration. So we can connect all of those pieces of equipment, and we can provide the data analytics, and, people want it and people need it. It's something running efficiently, and then again, triaging maintenance issues. But the other cool thing about our product is that we can connect to any type of equipment that's out in the industrial environment. We can connect to not only our pumps and valves, but competitor pumps and valves. It would be foolish of us to think that when we went into a particular end customer, that they would have everything Flowrox. You don't see that anywhere. Would you ever go into a building and expect to see all the same type of valve or all the same type of coupling?
Well, when you were the marketing manager at KMC, you expected that.
Unless, of course, it's KMC, yes. But that's the whole thing. So when we first set out at Flowrox to start developing our smart solutions and our platform, it was originally to how can we connect our pumps and valves. But anyone that has a singular focus on a single piece of or branded piece of equipment, that's short-sighted. You're not going to be able to see the long-term value of IoT, and then that's why you're starting to see so many platforms come out that say they can connect to so many other things. So, we're able to connect not only to our stuff, but third-party stuff, and then stuff that we don't even necessarily have direct play into. It doesn't have to have a valve or a pump connected to it for us to be able to monitor it. Tank levels, vibrations on bearings, motors, energy consumption, meters, whatever it is, we're able to connect that and visualize it and give you all those analytics.
So what are the protocols that you see on the industrial side primarily? I mean, I know Modbus is a big one we see a lot, but what else?
Modbus, Profinet, TwinCat, and then all of those run on multiple different variations depending on what the infrastructure is. If it's right. Ethernet, there's variations on Ethernet. If it's what's the fiber optic? If it's fiber optic, that's something different. And then wireless solutions, that kind of runs the gamut of whatever you need to do there. In the industrial environment, you usually have huge amounts of electricity coming in, lots of metal, so wireless isn't quite there yet. Similar to buildings, but I think mesh has some future potential.
I would think that preventive or predictive analytics would be more critical. I know with the boiler controls we sell that have that built in, because again, if a line goes down or if a valve fails in the middle of a production run, I mean, you could be talking a ton of money. So is that part of what you guys are able to do too? Like, monitor cycle rates and predict when, hey, we're going to need to change the seals here or the actuator at this particular time?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I've had more and more conversations with people than almost anything else is vibration monitoring. So many companies in the industrial world, and I would imagine, commercial building world as well, they have a routine that they do once a month. And they take a 45-second reading of vibration, and then they compare it to last month and see if there's an issue. Well, our team's been able to document bearing failing with vibration monitoring, real-time consistent vibration monitoring over the course of just 6 hours. So if you're doing it once every 30 days versus 6 hours, that's a big difference. Yeah. And so, just little things like that, we're able to see, is something going to go down? And the more failures we document, the more our platform is going to be able to recognize it, and we can send alarms earlier and sooner based on the type of equipment that we have. Same thing with temperature, same thing with pressure, all of that.
Are you starting to see artificial intelligence or predictive algorithms come into play in your product?
Yes, absolutely. So I mentioned that we are a Finnish company. Finnish companies in the Finland government, if you're of a high enough caliber and been around for long enough, you can get very tight relationships. So we have a very close relationship with the Finnish government. We've received grants from them to start developing our AI, and we're expected to receive even more this year. So we are running a current beta test of artificial intelligence right now, and hopefully we could run that or release that full time out into the marketplace in the next 12 months, hopefully.
Well, Tim, very impressive. I did go on the internet and have checked it out, and One thing I could say about this is that some of the differences, because we're going to transition, you went through the similarities, but the differences are that now you're in a major investment. You're not talking, we always were in scalabilities, and our thing was to get the foot in the door and then move from there, get onto the network, get into the backbone, and perhaps, include different, substructures within the building so that you can put them all in one platform, single face, But what you're doing is you're working in a very engineer-centric, very high dollar, very expensive. What's a typical installation? I mean, when you're working out there and you're looking at projects, I mean, we talk, less than 30,000, 50,000, 100,000, whatever. But you're working in stuff you're in the millions right off the bat, almost most of the time, aren't you?
So if we talk about systems overall in terms of hardware that's out in a production environment, of course, that is millions of dollars that we are monitoring. If a failure goes bad on a centrifugal pump, we're talking $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 cost just to fix it, plus all the downtime and decreased capacity, whatever it is. For our solution, I am excited about it because of how affordable it is. You guys know the IoT adage of plan big, start small, scale fast. We're able to do that and to do it in a way that's affordable. I've seen some pricing from some of the big guys that are out there pitching smart industry, and we're talking high six figures into the seven figures a year just to have your monitoring. And what we talk about is anything from, let's say, $2,000 a year upward, depending on how many points you're pulling in. And if you want to talk about initial installation, I have several quotes out there right now. And I think the smallest one I'm running with is a very simple project that's $15,000. That gets you the hardware to monitor, the integration, and the cloud platform. And then, there's another one that's upwards to $100,000. So, I mean, there's a huge range, but all of those are starting small because then we can grow out from that. And that's where, that scale fast and, see the benefits of IoT, the ROI really starts to come out, but it's affordable. It's operating expense. It's not necessarily a capital expense unless you're doing a big, broad, entire facility or something like that.
Amazing. That's cool. Plan big, start small, scale fast. I like that one. How much does remote monitoring we were talking about artificial intelligence, but how much about the wearable technologies? Do you all get into the remote support? Because you can't be all places, all times, but you could have problems everywhere. Are you guys implementing that kind of technology where you're using wearable technology and maybe
like not artificial, augmented realities, something like that?
Well, yeah, all the above. I mean, because we saw a couple of presentations with the wearable technology where they're out in the fields, and the guy's he's in your home base in Finland, but he's working on a very special project, and they need the number one product manager and engineer to be assisting. So the guy's wearing wearable technology, and the technicians right there,
or something like that.
Yeah, and because it seems like some of the applications you have that would be a fit. Is there any movement in that direction?
I think it would be a huge fit. That's not our wheelhouse, but what we could do is, because we have an open platform that's cloud-based, internet-based, we have an open API, we would certainly integrate with something like that. So they go out, they map the the 3D environment, they match it to what the glasses are seeing, and then they could see the real-time data coming from our platform. So that's the type of thing that is really important with IoT, is you got to be able to collaborate. And if you're trying to provide everything to everyone, you're not going to be the right solution.
Right.
I just want to ask one more question regarding that, because we just came from the buildings world, and digital twins, the new one of the hot buttons there.
Oh, sure. Yep.
Do you guys have an equivalent or a version of digital twin, so that you're actually monitoring on a computer, basically? It mirrors what's out there physically installed or deployed.
Sure. So digital twin is kind of a loaded term. I think there's multiple ways to look at it. The eventual hope, so on one side of the spectrum, the eventual hope of digital twin is that you would be able to plop in a new piece of machinery digitally and see how it operates within the process. That is going to involve a lot of machine-to-machine learning, a lot of artificial intelligence, and a lot of data sources that aren't being collected. So that's the future hope of digital twin. We are not doing that. What we are doing is we develop, our entire platform is based on 3D imagery. So we go in for each end user, we create a 3D image of what's in the environment for two reasons. One, if someone logs in, they immediately get an intuitive understanding of what's going on when they see real-time data, and what's going on with a particular piece of machinery that's in that 3D model, they can then also click on that and see, where's my data sheet, where's my installation guide, where's my troubleshooting guide, and here's a video on how to change the hose in the pump, that sort of thing. Being able to see all of that, again, it makes it intuitive, but in terms of the true digital twin, if I change this set point, what's it going to do? 3 things down, 4 things down in the process. What's the end result of my final product going to be? Not quite there yet, but we do have the analytics capabilities. And again, we're working on the artificial intelligence to get there.
Very, very cool. Well, listen, as we wind down, Tim, a couple of things. I want you to have your Ernest Hemingway moment here. I want to sort of do like a farewell to ARMS, sort of your farewell to building automation controls as you knew it. So in all seriousness, now that you're sort of out of the industry, and I started to try to get you to answer this early on in the interview, and we got sidetracked, but what are some things now that you've stepped away that that you've sort of wished you had thought about or knew, or maybe what you see the future being, or maybe what you see the roadblocks? I mean, it's kind of an open frame. In other words, if you were the Tim now talking to the Tim that was back working at KMC Controls, what would you have told him?
So I would say that IoT is changing a lot of industries because you're getting a lot of new players coming in that weren't there before. So we're seeing in the building space with companies like Dell and Intel coming in, while the mainstays in the group are continuing to rise and change their product, but they're not coming in with that kind of hard-hitting, industry-changing thing, while these outside companies are trying to do the same thing. On the industrial side, it's the same thing. You have new companies trying to come in, a lot of startups, and then you have a lot of the existing automation guys that are coming in and trying to come up with their own stuff. So my recommendation would be continue to press in with those innovative technologies, and don't be scared of the big guys, because they're going to be bringing in a whole bunch of baggage with them. They'll be talking a lot of new language, but they're not going to be presenting a lot of new things. The other thing too is on the building side, there's a huge concern around energy usage and comfort. In the industrial environment, that's less of a concern. Obviously, you want to steward your resources well, but if you need to run a pump, you're going to push as much electricity as necessary in to run the pump. Otherwise, you want the pump to run efficiently to make sure you're getting your output. The other thing that the industry side, industry is not as concerned about comfort. Just put on a hard hat and you're good to go. But then the industry what industry is also extremely interested in is throughput and safety and downtime. So while all that could be important also to buildings, I would say because of the revenue generated from the processes in themselves, that's where industry comes in. However, my recommendation to the building side would be, how can you peg your product not only from a comfort and energy saving side, but how can you use it to help drive revenue? And how do buildings make revenue? By keeping their tenants if they're renting the space out, or making sure that it's not just comfort, but making sure that the employees working in a space, if it's an owned building, have everything they need and the technology they need to make sure they're doing their jobs as best as possible. Tim.
Well said. Well, listen, how do people get a hold of you now? What give them the website? Because, I tell you what, if I want a big badass valve, I'm calling you, man. I'm not going to call Fisher. I'm not going to call Foxborough. I'm not going to call Zurich. I'm calling you. How do they get hold of you?
Perfect. Yeah. So our website is flowrocks.com. That's FLOWROX.com. And if you want to get a hold of me, Eric, you have my phone number.
I do.
But you can email me at tim.vogel@flowrocks.com.
Okay, good.
And it's always a pleasure talking to you guys.
Oh, I know our community misses you, dude. You did such a great job, and our NOAA community misses. I got to ask you one more favor. I keep seeing that gong over your right shoulder. Will you hit that one time before we sign off?
Oh, sure. I'm kind of hooked in here. Let me.
All right. And then what would you do now? I love that kind of stuff, Kenny. That's great. All right. Hey, man. We could hear it, Tim, and maybe it's the microphone, dude. It probably is a microphone. I think you got to get a bigger gong, man. But that's just, I'm just saying.
No, it worked.
Hey, man. Thanks so much, Tim. Appreciate you, brother. You take care.
Thanks, Tim.
You guys.
Well, Kenny, I don't know about you, man. I always like Tim Bogle. Really bright guy. It's so much fun to catch up with him.
Yeah, I mean, he's just he loves his job again, and he's a young guy with a lot of brains and a lot of smarts and a lot of initiative, and he's always been really a good friend to Control Trends communities because he shared information with us all the time. He always said, "Did you guys see this one? I love this. The plan big, start small, scale fast. I love hearing that new." Good dialogue that makes sense because we all ultimately, like you say, tell the story, and these are good bits to tell the story. Throughput, safety, downtime, how he was able to segregate the big differences of the two, industrial versus building automation and commercial buildings. But I wanted to say something before I forget, and that was that the Marvel comics impact everybody and whatever, but your caricature that you put up for the post for real cybersecurity solutions, that technique you did there made us all Marvel characters.
Yeah, we are, man. We're like Avengers, man.
That's it. I felt like that was
Who's your favorite Avenger?
I got depends. Iron Man for a while, and then the Hulk, and then I also like Thor. And I like the women. The women are every one of them was worth attention.
No, they are. Well, my son Axel, they just got into it. My son Axel, he loves Hulk. Yeah. So now he'll take his stuff, his toys, and throw them down and go, "I'm Hulk, I'm Hulk, I'm Hulk." He loves Hulk and Captain America. But me, I'm a Thor guy. I that whole mythology is really intriguing to me. Thor and Loki and Odin and all those guys. So, well, cool. Yeah, it was great. So we're trying to keep things entertaining. We're trying to keep things fresh. Our sponsor this week has been DG Lux. Be sure to click the link, get a free tutorial on that with our friends Arthur and Eugene Mazzo and the rest of the team there. If you're interested in being an advertiser on Control Trends, reach out to us. We are selling advertising spots now because Kenny and I are getting older and we need to get paid. But and Microsoft is kicking our asses, so we're afraid of Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates. I mean, we dream about them at night and wake up in cold sweats, man, because
it's too late for that.
We're probably more too conspiratorial, I guess, right?
No, it's just we saw it coming. We've written about it. We've heard Ken St. Clair get up on the highest mountain and say it's coming, and when it comes, it's like still a surprise. But then again, what Tim Vogel said too, about the it's a new story. They're talking a new language, but it's the same thing. And it's the same building. It's the same inerts of the building and the control of equipment. So you can't get scared, become afraid of somebody or intimidated by something that they literally have no control over. They have to have that service link.
I got to tell you something. I am really convinced now, and I've been doing some deep dives into marketing and stuff like that. We got some people do some really good marketing in our industry. Tim Vogel is a really good marketer, but I'm convinced now that how you say something is equally or not more important than what you're saying, right? I mean, because we all are kind of doing the same sort of technologies, but the people that can frame it in a certain way and the people that can say it in a way that resonates are the people that are going to win. I'm a big believer that marketing is a huge differentiator now, and sales is a huge differentiator. So we're going to talk more about that. But Kenny, before I forget, hey, did Mark Peacock just do an awesome job filling in for us last week when you were in jail? Was that amazing or what?
Well, I was not in jail. You were. So let's just get this story straight before it gets any
I'm
muddy.
trying to control the frame here, buddy. But in all seriousness, Mark Peacock filled in for Kenny and me at the Ibicon show, did a marvelous job. So if you haven't seen that episode, check it out. It's a shorter episode, but did Mark just do a great job or what?
He sure did. He's a natural. He's a pro, and the folks that were with him, the guests he had also did just a marvelous job. Ping and both the other ones just marvelous. The guy from Annixter and FSG.
And Kendall was great too.
Well, she just again they're made for the jobs, and they're all vice presidents or above. So I mean, this is big stuff, So they really know their business, and they enjoyed it, and it was great to see them all sitting on the same couch with Mark, doing a great job. Yeah.
Cool. Well, listen, and quite a crowd we had watching that. But listen, before we hop off, is there anything else you want to?
Well, I wasn't sure if you wanted to mention or not, but don't you and I have some travel plans for this upcoming Friday?
We do, but let's let that be a surprise. You'll tune into next week's show, and you'll hear where Kenny and I are going on a mission, an undercover, top secret mission. And if you want to know, you're going to have to tune in next week. But with that, Kenny Smyers, we'll say a special thanks to our guest, Michael Hatt. from RLE Technologies, and Tim Vogel. What's that? It's got a cool company sounding name again. What's it called?
Flow Rocks.
Flow Rocks. Yeah. So thanks to those two guys, and thank you for tuning in. Remember, be bold, stay in control, stay relevant.
Indeed, Eric.
How was that?